Appreciation. That's our word of the week. And in my conversation with Hall of Fame coach John Beilein, we touch on the wisdom of understanding that life and sport is not a game of perfection, the benefits of a gratitude journal, the impact that an athlete can have on a coach just by being appreciative of being coached, the power of focusing on the positive versus dwelling on the negative, and two things that every athlete can do to show appreciation for their teammates.
So appreciation is one of the core values that we had at Michigan, and it's something that was dear to me as well, because as I was coaching, stress always bothered me. And I had this great morning ritual of doing a gratitude journal. I would just write down for 5 minutes all the things that I was appreciative of the day before, gratitude of the day before.
Right.
And for coaches that are looking to get rid of your stress when one thing in practice might bother you, or your ride home might bother you, and then you look at all the good things that happened that day, you have to think positive.
Right.
That's one thing I advise for coaches is do a gratitude journal. Realize how lucky you are to be coaching. I get to coach today. I don't have to coach today. I get to coach today. Really
Right.
helps coaches. Players should know that having this attitude of gratitude. Duncan Robinson thanked me, thanked the whole coaching staff after every day of practice, every single day. Coach, we got better today. How'd that work out for him? It's an amazing thing that happens when you have gratitude as a player. And there's all these studies on positive leadership and positive thinking. It works. It works. Coaches, think what you can do. Talk about all the great things that are happening as the team grows. Find small victories, even in losses. And then teams don't think the worst is going to come. You just think, just be thankful for your teammates. Do everything you can to show that gratitude and watch what happens. That
Yep.
you'll just grow as both a player and a human being.
I think that's a great point. I think I was guilty of this as a coach. And I think a lot of coaches are somewhat perfectionist personalities, type A personalities, and a lot of really good players are too. And that type of personality has a tendency to focus on what isn't going right, right? What mistakes were made. And so maybe just elaborate on that, on just the power of focusing on the positive.
Trevor, that's so appropriate because basketball and any game is not a perfect game. You don't have to play. Every game is going to be imperfect.
Right.
And I tell coaches to use that word imperfect a lot because it's not as degrading as some other things when you don't play well. But
Right.
it's not a game of perfect. It's not.
Yep.
And you have to try to just go back and forth with how you can grow from the mistakes, but be thankful that you have video, right? You have assistant coaches who can notice things. Players
Right.
can notice things, and both players and coaches alone, right? You're trying to just teach young men how to be, and women,
Yep.
teach young men and women how they can be the best version of themselves and be grateful for it.
100%. That reminds me, during my AD days, I used to tell our coaches they'd come in frustrated, and I just would simply remind them, like, look, if they didn't have these problems, or if there weren't these challenges, we wouldn't need to hire you. Like, we could just let
Right.
people out and play. And
Good,
so be
good
grateful that
problems
you
to
get the
have.
opportunity. Yes.
I say it all the time. These are good problems.
Yep, for
Very good
sure.
problems.
You mentioned earlier something, and I had a question for you that I had queued up for later in our conversation, but I want to jump to it now. What impact does it have on a coach when a player shows appreciation for being coached, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, it's extremely rewarding. I mean, it was like, and the Duncan Robinson, it was not something fake. He
Right.
saw he was a Division III guy getting better every day, and as a coaching staff, we just wanted to keep coaching because it was like we need to message to players. That's all we do is message to players. When players message back to the coach, that really can be, that type of communication should go both ways in many respects. And that's
Absolutely.
what Duncan was doing there. I mean, it really was. Or Josh Bartelstein calling a meeting for our team after a tough loss. Those were meaningful things for the coaches that because they were actually giving us communication.
Yeah, that makes sense. What type of characteristics or tangible things would you point to a team or a player maybe that you'd go, okay, that's a team that's really appreciative. That's a team that or a player that's showing great appreciation, maybe amongst themselves. And we talked a little bit about to
Yeah.
coaches, but maybe with themselves.
I think the player there's two things. One's a very hard one and one's easy. The players, I believe that when they're winning a game by a lot and they're on the bench and they're the guys, the scout team is in there, that they're hooting and hollering for them and
Yeah,
showing appreciation for what they do.
right.
The same thing in those tough scrimmages you have where you're going against the scout team, of appreciating how good these guys are making you, and they
Yes.
could be younger guys. So that's the number one thing. The number two thing is I think that getting a player who is a good player but does not have a good game and the team still wins. There's nothing worse, and I think we'll talk about this later too, but there's nothing worse than having a great win and going in and seeing somebody sulking in the locker room. It takes a strong man to have a bad game and win and be smiles in the hospital. That is a superpower.
That
And it ruins everybody's day when some really good players, are slumping after a good game.
Yeah. That's a great point. And I certainly have experienced that in my career coaching, right? And usually with some of your best players, right?
Yep.
That are just, again, we talked about it a little earlier, just so self-driven, perfectionist. It's part
Yes.
of why they have the success they do, but then there's always that counterbalance of, the negative that comes with it. So I think that's a great point. Did you did you ever have a time in your career where you caught yourself maybe not being as appreciative of your team or the players
Oh
as
yeah.
maybe you should have been? And then how did things change when maybe you made an adjustment from
Yeah.
that?
I mean, there were many times, especially when I took over programs and they just didn't understand the culture that I wanted to establish. And I
Mm,
would say, wait a minute, how can I expect this so quickly? It just doesn't happen that way. I got
right.
to appreciate the process of
Yeah.
changing the culture of the program or the habits, the habits of the guys on the team on and off the court. And I got to, it's not going to happen. You're not a wizard and do a magic wine and everything changes.
Yep.
It's it's again why this is why we hired you. This is
Right.
why we're never complaining on payday. This is why you're there.
Yep. We talked before. I think we were talking about just being a great teammate, and you mentioned something that you guys had done as a staff. Your assistants, I think, took the lead on having one
Yep,
of you guys come in and write down things they were doing to be a great
yep.
teammate that day, and so that was powerful. Was there anything you can think back on that you did that was an effective tactic to help build appreciation in your players?
I I know if I had to do it over again, I mean that would be a great way to start a film session or a practice of saying, "Hey, Joe, what are you thankful for today?"
Right.
Just say it to us all. What are you thankful for it today? And it could have been anywhere where his mother just got a good, test from cancer and cancer was done, or it could be,
Yep.
what the coaches have really helped me with my jump shot, or I got an A on a test. It could be anything, but
Right.
it creates the right mood. So I
Yeah.
didn't do enough of that. That's a great idea to do, I believe.
Okay. Awesome. Um, A lot of great stuff already. Anything that we haven't touched on with appreciation that
No,
you think is important?
I'm just telling you, if you appreciation and this attitude of gratitude we talk about leads to better performance without question. When you
Awesome.
are thankful, you play so much better, you coach better. It's just it's a dynamic that is contagious with your team.
That was a quick cut of a recent conversation that we had with Coach Beilein around appreciation. Three key takeaways for you to put into action this week. Number one, start a gratitude journal, or sometimes referred to as a gratitude stack. Simply write down the things that you're appreciative of in your life. This could be a daily habit that you build or Perhaps you just keep it in your back pocket for a day where you're feeling frustrated or maybe down. A gratitude stack is a good way to kind of help recenter you or refocus you on the positive things that you have going on in your life. And number two, say thank you. Say thank you to your coaches. After practice, after a game, maybe especially after a rough practice or a game where they were on you a little bit, thanking them for their willingness to pour into you, thanking them for their willingness to hold you accountable, thanking them for what they're doing for you and your teammates to try to help you reach your goals. It's not always going to be, sunshine and roses. There's going to be moments of frustration, but if you can show appreciation through frustration, it's certainly a sign of maturity and something that can build unity and connection with a team. Number three now is, again, say thank you, but thank you to your teammates, right? Thank your teammates after practice. Maybe they were pushing you, in a drill. Maybe you have someone that you go against every day in a certain drill that is highly competitive. And, maybe even it gets a little heated in practice. Taking the time to say thank you to them after practice for their willingness to push you and help you get better will mean a lot to them and mean a lot to kind of building that team camaraderie. If you're a senior, maybe look for an opportunity to thank a freshman or a sophomore that's new to the program, that's getting acclimated to the way you do things, thanking them for what they're doing to try to help you have a great senior year. Again, could go a long way. And maybe if you're a freshman or sophomore, thanking that senior leader for what they're doing and how they're helping you come along. The bottom line is just look for things to be appreciative of and don't be shy about saying thank you to people who are helping you grow and helping you become the best version of yourself that you can be and helping your team ultimately reach its highest peak that it can reach. So have a great week and let's continue to grow.